My name is Magnus Ditlev and I'm the Ironman distance world record holder, and welcome to 48 hours of my life. About to go to the first session of the day, which is a longer swim, 6 kilometers, but just easy getting in the distance. Today is a pretty hard day. I have this swim, and then afterwards there is a break on the schedule, very specific to the PTO T100 tour that is coming up. So I'm looking forward to it. So I swim usually 6 times a week. We have a really good club structure here in Copenhagen with, as you will also see, today will be a lot of people in the pool, which is a little bit annoying, but this is the only day it is like that. Normally we have much more space, so you have better time to think properly about. It can get a bit chaotic when there are that many in the pool, but yeah, the weekends are always a bit busy, and I swim with the local club all my swim sessions, which is really nice to have someone to swim with.
Yeah, and I guess also like having Jens on deck most of the time is also quite beneficial, especially like you have talked a lot about that during the winter times you normally work quite a lot with your technique.
Yeah, Jens he is here on deck today, and I think he is on deck 5 times out of the 6 I'm swimming every week, so that really helps. And then we're also working with a very professional swim coach that is also looking at me pretty frequently. So I think we have made some pretty good progress over the winter. I felt last year that in the spring I was making a lot of progress, and then during when the season was rolling it kind of stagnated a bit, but I think hopefully it will show also in the races, but definitely in the pool we have made a step forward.
Hello, my name is Jens Bach. I'm the head coach in Copenhagen Triathlon Club and also coach Magnus Ditlev. We have been working together the last 6 years. We've been focusing a bit on building a good foundation for the rest of the season, so we have been focusing on some technical aspect, mainly in the swim and also a little bit in the run, but basically just doing some basic work that doesn't make him too tired, so we have energy for a long season. We have been working together with for many years, and now we also have like a guy on the national team that is helping with swimming, so he's also been contributing with some ideas of how to improve his technique, but basically all the swim coaches are saying the same thing, so we kind of have a good idea of what to work with him on. So in this period, the main focus is to improve his technique.
And you work on this like today?
Yeah, today we have like a main set where we have built in some technique and some sprints and some distances. So we try to do some technique exercises, try to implement the technique to the swim on a fairly long distance, and then do some sprints afterwards to see if they can hold the technique for the sprint.
Some thoughts on the session today?
That was good. 6K, easy. Technique and some distance in between. A little bit difficult to keep really good technique when the water is that choppy, but it's good training for the open water as well, so I'm happy. Just toasting some white bread to fuel before my brick session. It's yeah, as white and plain as you can get. It's a very tough brick, and the running especially is tough, and also in the afternoon. So I like to keep the food I'm eating before very plain and simple. So it's probably not the most friendly diet if you are like for well-being or a normal person, but for elite athletes that has to do a really important brick session or training session later in the day, it works really well with the stomach and energy. So that's what I'll eat before.
Yeah, because we got quite a lot of questions with regards to like your nutrition, and now for instance you had like the long 6K aerobic swim this morning, and now you have a little bit of break before the brick, but is it normal that like you keep it so simple, or is it only due to the brick session?
So for breakfast and dinner, breakfast I usually eat oats, and that's that's very healthy if you ask me. And if I have a run later in the day, for instance, I will tend to use more plain and simple lunch with either rice, pasta, or some white bread. Or if I did the run before lunch, then I might have a more like normal lunch with some more greens and veggies and fibers in the food. So the lunch really depends on what I will be doing later in the day. And then for dinner I try to eat obviously first and foremost a lot, and also a lot of green stuff and vegetables. Preparing the bottles, 2 hours on the bike. I will basically all of those 2 hours are at a pretty high intensity, so practicing the race day nutrition, I'm about to pushing the amount of carbohydrates up, slowly training the gut to tolerate more. So today I'm aiming around 130 grams per hour during the bike, and then the run, not as much, maybe around 70 grams of carbs per hour.
Is there like any certain brands that you like prefer for these kind of sessions, or is it like something you switch on and off? The feet.
Oh, so I really like to, in the training I'm doing, mix it up a lot, which is one of the biggest benefits of the feed in my eyes, is that I just have the availability of pretty much every brand out there. So for easy training I really like to mix it up, so I don't have the same taste or get tired of the same products all the time. But for really specific sessions like this and racing, I use Morton, the drink mix and gels.
So this is the famous basement for training.
Perfect. This is where the magic happens. Today's session on the bike is 4 times 30 minutes. The first one, zone 2 warm up, so still pretty tight, push on the pedals just to bring in a bit more fatigue in the legs for the later stages of the brick, and also keep working on the aerobic system. And then the second 30-minute interval is it's very scenario specific to the PTO race. So last week we were simulating that I had to bridge a gap after the swim. And this time we imagine that I have had a little bit better swim, so first 30 minutes is like sitting in the group, steady with a few spikes. Then the third 30-minute interval is attempting to break away from the group, so a huge surge of around 5 to 10 minutes, and then steady from there. And then the last 30 minutes is like solo TT riding, imagining that I was able to get a gap on the others and then ride solo to second transition.
Yeah, and it's the second time that you're doing this break. You did it last week as well, right?
Yeah. So we are just playing around with a few different scenarios. So last time was like bridge the gap to the group, attack them. This time we hope that I have had a little bit better swim, so it's a completely different scenario, and it's both like really fun and motivating to do like that, but also you learn so much from trying out different specific scenarios. I've never really had like a run on the PTO distance where that is close to my potential. We believe that, but so we are trying to simulate different like stimuli on the bike to see also how it affects on the run. Sometimes like pushing the limit on the bike, seeing if it affects the run, and trying to find out how hard can I actually go on the bike before it's affecting the run.
So is the plan to measure the lactate after each rep?
Yeah, we're measuring after every 30 minutes on 2 different lactate meters.
So why are you measuring on 2 different lactate meters?
I think people will be surprised on how big the difference sometimes is, and
yeah, we can maybe actually see it by now on these 2.
Now they're probably similar, but no, yeah, so pretty similar now. But, the difference can be pretty big, so it's always good to have more measurements.
And this was the first 30-minute rep, so what was the average power on this one?
That was like steady 330, and that is a pretty high reading for me. I think I'm pretty loaded up on sugar, as I did a like carb load leading into today, so but that's good. It was good. Some group dynamics going on. I think averaging, including surges and like each steady pace, 370 watts across 30 minutes. Exactly the same as before.
So first one 1.5 and this second one is also 1.5. Let's see what this one measure. Yeah, 1.6. So exactly the same.
But now we go an attack for 5 minutes and then threshold, so also pretty hard for another 5 minutes to simulate trying to break away from the group. a lot of different data fields going on.
Is there any like fields in particular that you always use for like interval sessions?
This one, how it feels in my body, trying to like collect as many data points externally, but in the end the feeling is super important. You can measure everything, but it's very difficult to measure how you actually feel.
And how do you feel the body is responding?
Good. Feeling better throughout the session so far.
And what will the last rep be?
Just like steady, pretending I'm riding solo to the transition zone.
So our dream scenario.
Yep.
Lige på hele Swift for Aerosol kommer så til højre.
Før med egen sådan.
Ja, det er der var noget vind også, ikke?
Og der var ret forskelligt.
Ja. Ja, det sidste spil var ret enig.
Ja.
About to finish the last rep.
Yep, 1 minute left. Then quick transition to the running shoes. And then out into the cold wall weather.
Jens, det er sådan der. What was the time for the first 5K?
15:05.
Decent.
What do coach think about that?
I think it's fast. It's good.
What is the lactate saying?
3.4.
3.4.
Good. Looks strong.
So what will you do on the next two?
Aiming for around 3:15 pace. We'll see. In that ballpark.
How was the second rep?
Just above 16 minutes. So 0.5. Hvor skal du gå?
Hjem fra Places.
You have your passport ready. You never know. And what is the lactate?
1.1.
1.1. So he is certainly clearing the lactate. So will you aim for the same pace here on the last one? Yeah. Done. And how was it?
Really good. I'm very pleased. Almost too good, I would say. It's going to be very good training session. Probably all-time best numbers for sure. So, but I've done like really good training before and have struggled to put it together over the PTO distance, but this is for sure very promising. It's more the way we have periodicized the season. Like the beginning of the season, I've done a lot of base work around LT1 and Zone 2. So these sessions are actually the first ones that I'm really, I feel like I'm turning the screws over and pushing the pedals for the first time. Otherwise it has been so controlled, not really running much faster than LT1, only for like very short periods of time. So it's just a testament to how far you can come with basic endurance.
Yeah, so I think you have to get home now and get in some
It's
warm.
it's like 0 degrees out here.
Yeah, but good work.
Det var bare lige væk med dig, så.
How are you feeling after the session? Now it's a few hours afterwards and we have gotten home to your parents.
Yep, 26 years old, still living by my parents. So no, but I can definitely feel that I've been training hard today, but it's a pleasant feeling. So sometimes you can feel you really pushed it too far, and that's really not the case right now. It's more a good feeling. Body responded super well on that session, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and we got a lot of questions with regards to like how you're fueling and how you're eating. So I think we managed to go through like your fueling through the session, but like afterwards, is there like anything in particular that you take directly after training and in the hours after, or how does that work?
So on the hydration side, I mean the 2 hours inside on a turbo trainer with a pretty high humidity and also a warm basement, it's super important to hydrate afterwards, as my sweat rate is probably close to 2 liters on those 2 liters per hour for those 2 hours. So hydration afterwards is super important. And then with regards to like food, I always try to get something in quite quickly afterwards. Like a favorite of mine is chocolate milk. Has some good proteins and a lot of carbohydrates as well, and it tastes good and it's easy to get down. And then we are just making dinner now, and that is usually the time when all the training is done. It's easier for me to get in like the healthy greens and vegetables you really need as well, since I don't have, like, for instance, a run session coming up straight after, so I always try to do that.
Som altid.
Det er så godt, så har du lige spontan.
Ja, det er
Sitting here, relaxing and preparing for another day tomorrow, which will mainly be a bit aerobic dominated, with some sprints also on the swim, and then some outdoor gravel riding on the bike and heat prep, and a run to finish off the day, and just doing my nightly recovery rituals before going to bed. Recently I've started to introduce pillar performance, especially drinking triple magnesium before going to bed has had a really positive impact on my sleep, and I really can feel the benefit, and also measuring the quality of sleep has been better. So also a good way to hydrate before going to bed. Usually you are you can be a bit dehydrated after such a long day of training, so it's good to get in some fluids also before going to bed. We enjoy the Immune C powder from Pillar Performance, especially for instance training back home here in Denmark during the winter. Once I feel like a small sickness is coming, I always make sure to take it, and has been helpful there. Also with regards to long travels, like for instance having to cross the Atlantic to compete in the US, I always take the Immune C powder before and after those long travels, and I've really been satisfied with that.
And I suppose a lot of athletes also watching find quite difficult to travel a long way to races. Is there other things among Pillar that you usually do when you are traveling, certain things when you're on the flight or afterwards, anything you can come up with?
Hydrating is super important, and eating healthy foods while you're traveling and leading into it, and also after. Then it's also probably a good idea not to hit the travel completely like trained to the floor. Like you have to, maybe if you can incorporate a little bit of an easier day actually before the travel day, so that your immune system is not completely shut down when you hit the travel day. And then during the travel I really make sure to always carry like sanitation and washing my hands very often.
Just got back home from the swim this morning.
Yep, so it was 4K, approximately a 4K swim with a lot of like top speed swim, with practicing like takeout speed, which is super important in the PTO races. It's like if you don't make it where you want to be after the first few hundred meters, then it can be, for a swimmer like me that is not like top level, can be really
almost impossible to get back into a good position. So for me it's super important to practice the top speed, and so that was what we were doing today with some fast 25 meters in the pool.
Yeah, so what was the main set? You said some 25 meters, but like overall, can you go a little bit more into details?
Yeah, so it was like a mix between a few 100 meters focusing on good technique, and then directly into some 50 meters as 25 meters like all out, and then 25 meters easy, and then super long breaks in between so that you can really hit the highest possible speed.
So you tried to like also implement some of the things you worked on yesterday going into this, but in like a higher speed.
Yeah, and then I had my coach also on deck like yesterday, also doing a bit of video analysis from the sprint. So looking at how my technique is when I'm really pushing it. Sometimes non-swimmers like me tend to like forget everything about technique when we sprint and just swing the arms around as fast as possible, but that's not what creates the fastest speed, which is really what you want. It's speed, it's not effort. So sometimes actually going a little bit easier on the effort and focusing on proper like stroke length and so on actually makes you go faster.
And what are you getting prepared for now?
Yeah, so now I just found a lot of clothing because I'm about to head out into the cold Danish weather for a gravel bike ride. I'll do 2 hours easy on the gravel. Like we have some amazing trails and gravel paths here in around the area around Copenhagen. Then I'll finish at the basement where I did the brick workout on the bike yesterday, and then do after those 2 hours 1 hour of heat prep for Miami.
Yeah, and maybe we can go a little bit more into details about the heat training and heat preparation once we get to the basement.
Yep.
How much are you fueling for on an easy session?
Ideally a hard day, like after a hard day like yesterday, I would aim a little bit more than, because now I'm just doing like 2 hours easy. Normally that wouldn't be maybe like 30-40 grams per hour, but after a hard day like yesterday I'll go around 60-70 I would say, but not if it ends up being 50 and I feel good, it's not a deal breaker. It's more it's probably a good idea to catch up a little bit after a demanding day yesterday.
Especially also when it's a little bit cold out here, so it can also be difficult to fuel enough.
Especially liquids, you don't really like on a 2 hour gravel ride here at 0 degrees Celsius, you don't feel like drinking, but still important to do. Just keep the clothing on.
How was the outdoor ride?
It was good. Very icy at places, so it's good to get my technique. Like when you ride indoor all the time, you can get a bit rusty once you get outdoors. So it's the gravel riding is super fun and also a good way for me to keep feel and improve my bike skills.
And why are you keeping the clothes on for the indoor ride?
That's because the race I'm going to do in Miami is likely to be, there is a possibility that it's going to be very hot and humid. So living in Denmark where it's extremely cold is not very ideal for prepping for a race like that. So we're doing some heat prep for that one.
The sweat is coming off pretty quickly by now.
Yeah. The last minute, the heat session.
How long have you been on the bike?
59 minutes in here and then 2 hours outside.
And is there like any specific numbers that you're looking at when you're doing the heat training, or is it just like to really get the core temperature as high as possible?
Yeah, heat training is extremely, actually pretty dangerous. So you really need to be careful what you're doing and be guided by some experts that know what they're doing. And it's not just more is better, because you can really cook yourself, especially if you are doing like high volume and heat training. So those two can pretty often sink the ship. But we have done testing with like proper temperature pills and everything, so we know approximately how my body responds to different heat sessions. So we try to stick around what works for me.
Makes sense. And what will you do after this? Now, yeah, it's getting close to 4 o'clock. So what is there on the agenda for the rest of the day?
I'll have to really be good at hydrating now, and also getting some food in, but especially hydration after you've been sweating a lot. And then I have an easy 1 hour jog in the evening to finish off the weekend of training. Raising up for the last session of the day, which is 1 hour easy run. A little bit sleepy after not that long of recovery between the bike and run, and also been eating a little bit, so I always get a bit sleepy, but yeah, it's okay once you start running.
Yeah, and thank you for having us, for being and looking into your training and sharing some details. I think a lot of people out there will really appreciate you getting into the details of your training, nutrition, and yeah, leading into PTO Miami. So thank you for showing everyone an insight.
Of course, and thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.